If you like to talk about combat sports and you want to join the discussion, click the subscribe button below and the bell notification icon next to it and join Knucklehead Nation. What's going on, Knuckleheads? This is George with Fighters Rep, and if you like to talk about combat sports, this is the place for you. Please subscribe below. This is our Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Dustin Poirier Preview Prediction for UFC 242, and this thing is going down in Abu Dhabi. That's the hashtag, in Abu Dhabi. It's the official hashtag of the event. It's going down this Saturday, September 7th, in a historic event in Abu Dhabi to determine who is once and for all going to be the lightweight champion of the world. You've got the undefeated phenom in Khabib the Eagle Nurmagomedov at 27-0, taking on Dustin Poirier, a fighter with also an incredible record of his own, 25 wins, just an amazing fighter in his own right. And what we're going to do tonight is we're going to look at the tail of the tape first. After we look at the tail of the tape, we're going to make a prediction for the fight. Then I'm going to turn it over to you guys, and you guys are going to tell me what you think and who you think is going to win this fight. We're going to give you all the reasons as to why we think, our prediction is correct. But, back quickly to the tail of the tape. Again, Khabib Nurmagomedov, 27-0. Dustin Poirier, 25-5, one no contest. Two very, very experienced, savvy fighters that are going to be going up against each other in the octagon on September 7th. This Saturday, I'm totally stoked about this fight. We've got Khabib Nurmagomedov at 5 feet 10 inches. Dustin Poirier listed as 5 feet 9 inches. I'm not sure how accurate that is. I think both of these guys are about the same height from what I can see. So I don't think there's going to be much of a height advantage or disadvantage in this fight. If anything, to me, when they were facing off, Khabib looked a little bit taller, but that could be because of footwear at the face-off. You never know. Let's move on to the weight here. We're going to look at the weight here. They're both going to be fighting at 155 pounds. Championship weight, baby. I would imagine Khabib might come in a little heavier. I feel like he's got the bigger frame. Dustin Poirier also has a large frame. But I don't know. I feel like Khabib is a monster. But, we'll see. We'll see who comes in heavier the night of the fight. And then the reach is a bit more telling than anything else, with Dustin Poirier at 72 inches and Khabib Nurmagomedov at just 70 inches. Dustin Poirier, who will have the advantage physically as far as the reach goes, will have to utilize that reach if he's going to try to win this fight. Now, let's real quick look at the keys to the fight and determine what each guy has to do, in our opinion, in order to win this fight. Obviously, if you look at Khabib, you're going to want him to set up his takedowns with striking, get Dustin Poirier to the ground, and just pummel him. Maul him the way he does every other opponent that's led to his fantastic, unblemished 27-0 record. Ladies and gentlemen, it's what he does. He takes guys down, and he just beats them to death. He continues to put pressure on them until he gets them down. They offer some resistance in the beginning, but eventually, everybody seems to break to Khabib's pressure. And, in order for Khabib to win this fight, he's just going to have to continue to be himself. He's going to have to continue to do more of the same. Take Dustin Poirier down, stand up with him to set up his takedowns. There's no need to try to fight Dustin Poirier standing up. I don't think Khabib, despite a significant improvement in his striking, is better than Dustin Poirier standing up. So, again, take him down, keep the pressure on him like you always do, switch levels, confuse him with the striking to set up a takedown, and just pound him out. As far as Dustin Poirier goes, the way he's going to have to win this fight is I think he's going to have to keep this one standing. He's going to have to really utilize his takedown defense. He's going to have to be very strong on the ground if he gets down there and know how to conserve his energy, because Khabib will keep on coming. Now, one notable thing about Dustin Poirier is he seems to have a lot of heart and a lot of endurance, and I do believe that Dustin Poirier is the kind of guy that does have enough heart to make this fight competitive. He also may have good enough takedown defense to keep the fight competitive, and he definitely has the stand-up to keep it competitive standing up. But I think the big question in this fight is Dustin Poirier's takedown defense going to be strong enough to keep Khabib at bay, or to keep him standing long enough for him to score points on Khabib? I think that's the key to this fight. It's going to be Dustin Poirier's takedown defense. How strong is that takedown defense? Because without it, he's toast. And with it, he's got a shot. He's got a hell of a shot with it. But again, it's just something we can't gauge because we haven't seen Dustin Poirier take on anybody who can wrestle the way Khabib can. And we haven't seen him take on anybody who's willing to do whatever it takes to get him to the ground. And so that's going to be, I think, the most important aspect of this fight in determining the winner. So now let's move on to our prediction. And, I'm going to have to go with the grain on this one. I typically am pretty conservative about my predictions. Sometimes I get brave, but not this time. Now, that's not to say that I don't think Dustin Poirier's got a chance to win this fight, because it's very much an unknown, his takedown defense and his ability to keep the fight standing. And even if the fight went to the ground, we're not sure how strong he is. However, what we do know is that Khabib Nurmagomedov is one of the best, if not the best, grapplers and wrestlers in the game, maybe in the history of the game. And he is going to take Dustin Poirier down or die trying. And when you have wrestling as strong as Khabib's, ground and pound as strong as Khabib's, and ground control and just the tenacity and the cardio, the engine, the durability, the will that Khabib has, it's very hard to beat. He's 27-0 for a reason. He's 27-0 so he doesn't know how to lose. He's got the best, maybe the best camp in the world behind him, and AKA with Daniel Cormier and Cain Velasquez and the rest of them out there. And he's just born and bred for this. Now, that's not to say Dustin Poirier isn't, but wrestling, in my opinion, grappling is such an important aspect of MMA. It is the most important aspect of MMA, and Khabib Nurmagomedov has got it in spades. And so I'm going to have to go with Khabib Nurmagomedov, either by a decision, because Dustin Poirier is extremely durable, or he's going to finish him, I think, somewhere in the second half of the fight. Again, that's not to say Dustin Poirier doesn't have the chance to win this fight. He's got a ton of heart, and he's very capable in the stand-up, and we don't know how he looks on the ground. Also, he's very strong, and, he's a very smart fighter, and he's got a lot of heart. And I mean, he wouldn't have gotten to this position had he not been a quality fighter. He's really had to fight his way to the top. But that's another thing that I think is important to look at in this fight. It's that Dustin Poirier has had, I think, in my opinion, a lot more wear and tear than Khabib Nurmagomedov. He has lost. And when you look at similar competition, common guys, both of these guys have fought. You look at Michael Johnson, you look at Conor McGregor. These are two guys that Khabib destroyed, and these are also two guys that knocked out Dustin Poirier. Now, that's not to say this is going to be the same Dustin Poirier we've seen in those fights, but, we have to base our future predictions on history, on the past, and if we do that, I think the safe bet to go ahead and plunk down all your money on. And the kids' college fund, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Don't do either one of those things. But I think the safe bet at the sportsbook is Khabib Nurmagomedov, although you're probably not going to win a lot because Khabib should be the favorite in this fight. So, Knuckleheads, that's what I got for you as far as this fight goes. I think Khabib wins this thing either by decision or stops Dustin Poirier in the latter rounds. I think being conservative, I would say a decision. And that's all I've got for you on that one. I'm going to turn it over to you guys now and see what you guys are saying in the chat room. Let's see what's going on there. So first we've got Boxing again in the chat. Thank you so much, my brother, saying big up from Kingston, Jamaica and Vancouver, Canada. Salute. Big up to Kingston. Big up to Vancouver, Canada. Actually Canada and, Jamaica are both places I would love to go to. I've been to Canada, but I've not quite been to Jamaica. But it's definitely somewhere worth going to, I hear. And I've definitely enjoyed the cuisine there, being from Miami. And the people are great people from what I've experienced. So thank you so much, Boxing, and thanks for tuning in. Boxing said, I can't wait to hear Poirier's wife screaming, "Get up, Dustin," while he's on his back eating elbows. Boxing, you are a ruthless, cold-hearted man. Why do you want to hear Dustin Poirier's wife screaming in Abu Dhabi, of all places, for her husband to stop being beaten up by Khabib Nurmagomedov? That's going to be a terrifying situation, I think, if it happens. If Khabib gets on top of him, starts landing those elbows, not going to be good for old Dustin Poirier. Marco Martinez, Khabib will maul him. Khabib versus Tony has to be next. Khabib, you wrote Khabib will mail him, but the only person getting mailed to Abu Dhabi was Nurmal in the Garfield cartoons. But no, that's not funny. I know you meant maul him, and I agree. I agree Khabib will maul Dustin Poirier. But look, we don't know what his takedown defense looks like. We don't know how he looks on the ground. Actually, apparently his takedown defense percentage is pretty high, something like 69%. But we haven't seen him face a guy like Khabib. So I agree with you now, just based on my own observations and based on how high quality Khabib's wrestling is. But I don't think we can really test it until they get in there, and I'm excited to see what happens. But until then, I agree with you. As far as Tony being next, definitely Tony has to be next. Tony definitely gets the shot at the winner of this fight. Otherwise, the world is unjust and unfair. And the MMA gods just do not love us. Ladies and gentlemen, Don Elvergudo, llegó, Mr. 305, the alien from the 305 from Miami has landed. Actually, he's from the island. He has landed, and he's donated $5 to Fighters Rep. Don, thank you so much, my brother. As you all know, anything you guys donate or purchase in the links below, like these fabulous Fighters Rep t-shirts, which are super sick, and everybody at the shows comes out and buys them. Anything you guys donate and purchase, the majority of the proceeds get reinvested right back into Fighters Rep. And don't forget to tune in on the 21st of September. We're going to be airing our fights live. We've got over 15 fights booked. Anderson Silva's son is fighting for us, among other rising talents. It's going to be fantastic. If you're anywhere near Southern California, get your tickets at fightersrep.com or in the links below. But thank you again, Don. Your generosity is much appreciated, brother. And, we've always known you're a big baller, Mr. Worldwide. So Don Elvergudo wrote, I saw that Khabib used to wrestle bears. That is absolutely correct. He did used to wrestle bears. So what is he gonna do, Don, when he gets his paws, pun intended, on Dustin Poirier? He is just going to manhandle him. And I don't think it's going to be a good thing for Dustin Poirier once Khabib gets those vicious paws on him. But again, we don't know. We don't know until he gets in there. We're basing this on our observation almost exclusively of Khabib's work, not of Dustin's work, because we haven't seen him work that much on the ground. Eagle Everett Crimson Tide, thank you so much for tuning in. A big hey to you as well. Thank you so much. Don is asking how much the Fighters Rep shirts are. They're in the links below. I believe they're only $19.99, so $20. You get yourself a shirt. It's cheaper if you could come to the shows, but the reason it's more expensive online is all the shipping and handling and everything else that goes into it. But again, if you can make it to the show on September 21st, which I know you're far away, so I don't know if you're going to be able to make it, here in Seal Beach, California, they run for, I believe it's $12 each or 2 for $20, but online down below they're $19.99. And if you do purchase one, we also have tank tops and hoodies. It's much appreciated. So Box Boxing is saying, it takes a special person to beat Khabib. Only Tony with that snapback BJJ can catch Khabib with a guillotine. You know what, Box Boxing? They can say what they want about you, my brother, but they cannot say that you are not a smart man, because I have to agree with you 100%. The only thing that's going to counter that supreme level of wrestling is going to be Tony Ferguson's supreme level of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I do think that he's got the best shot out of anybody, out of absolutely anybody, of beating Khabib Nurmagomedov. But even then, I see it as a bit of an uphill climb, just because Khabib is just so strong on the ground. And he doesn't seem as careless as some of the other wrestlers that Tony Ferguson has fought. Kevin Lee comes to mind. But, yeah, I mean, I do think, Box, that that's the guy that we need to see Khabib in there with next. Now, I'm not saying I think Tony Ferguson is better than Dustin Poirier. I think they're both, at this point, right now, probably at the same level, considering Tony came back from that surgery and has fought only Anthony Pettis since then and was hurt in that fight. So I'd like to see where Tony Ferguson is. I don't think maybe he's at his prime yet, but that is the next fight to make after this one. I do agree with that. Unless somehow we can get Nate Diaz to drop back down in weight, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. Don Elver is saying, I'm too far, I'm out of space. Hey, thank you so much, Don. But, you know, there's no excuses. Even in outer space, I'll send you a Fighters Rep t-shirt. Just tell me your coordinates of what planet you're on, brother, and I'll blast a rocket off into outer space with a Fighters Rep t-shirt in it. Eagle Everett Crimson Tide is saying, are you talking about UFC? There's some pretty good shows this weekend. Eagle Everett, yes, absolutely. We're talking about Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Dustin Poirier in the historic event in Abu Dhabi. Hashtag in Abu Dhabi at UFC 242. It's going down this weekend. I've already given my prediction. I believe Khabib's going to run away with this fight with a unanimous decision or a late fight, basically finish. But it's going to be a fantastic fight, and I really look forward to seeing what happens, because I think Dustin Poirier's got a ton of heart and can really make this a dogfight. Marco Martinez, Tony beats him standing. Tony's wrestling will be his best defense. Well, Marco Martinez, I don't think Tony has the wrestling to compete with Khabib, but I do agree with you that in the stand-up, I don't think he beats Khabib in the stand-up. Actually, yes, I do think he beats Khabib in the stand-up. And I don't think his wrestling is as good as Khabib's. But even though I don't think his wrestling is as good as Khabib's, I think his jiu-jitsu is fantastic and can definitely give Khabib problems. Box Boxing, the generosity comes through again. Thank you so much, brother, with $2.79 donation. Keep up the good work, my man. Keep up Thank you for telling me to keep up the good work, keep up the support. It's greatly appreciated. I'm trying to build boxing. I'm trying to build the next generation of striking promotions. Again, we've got incredible talent competing on this card. A guy that's fought for the California state title in MMA, Anderson Silva's son. Kids that train out of Systems Training Center. Kids have fought for us that train out of Black House MMA, where Anderson Silva and Lyoto Machida have fought. You know, we've got the who's who down here in Southern California. So your donations and your generosity is being reinvested right back into Fighters Rep Promotions to continue to build what I hope very soon will become the #1 striking promotion in the world. That is my goal. And with your help, I definitely think I can do it with your donations, your support, your positivity. So much love to you from California all the way to Canada and back down to Jamaica. Much love to all the people in all three of those respective places. Marco Martinez, I'll say Ferguson is better than Dustin. Dustin is a 50-50 fighter. He loses as many big fights as he wins. I agree with that. Marco. But the only reason actually why I think they're on the same level right now is because Tony Ferguson is coming off that injury still. We still don't know where he's at. We still don't know if we're at 100% Tony Ferguson, especially at his age. I mean, he's I think in his mid-30s almost now. So, you know, we need to take that into consideration. Also, Dustin Poirier is looking better than he's ever looked. He beat Max Holloway in a fight that I don't think a lot of people would have thought he would have done that to Max Holloway. You know, I actually thought Holloway was going to beat him. And he proved me wrong, and he looked fantastic in that fight. So, big up, man. Big up to Dustin Poirier. And, you know, based on that momentum, Dustin Poirier doing exceptionally well in his last fight, Tony Ferguson coming back from surgery, I got them on the same level at this point. But who knows? Who knows what happens? And you're right. He does have some terrible losses to Conor and Michael Johnson. But he's improved, I think. I think he's improved, and he continues to improve. And, you know, he got caught in both those fights. Anybody can get caught. So boxing, styles make fights. I saw Poirier tire after round 2 against Holloway. Hey, and have we ever seen Khabib Nurmagomedov tire? You know, that is part of the reason for my prediction. A guy who's never lost. We've never seen him tire. It's almost like he's got too much freaking pride, right? He's got too much pride to even tire. He can't even show you that he's tired. He can't show you that he's hurt, even when Michael Johnson hurt him. And, you know, it's funny that we were just talking about getting caught in Michael Johnson, Conor McGregor. Let's not forget, Michael Johnson clipped Khabib Nurmagomedov and hurt him, or I guess you would say the Khabib version of hurt him. But you could tell Khabib was hiding it very well. He's got a hell of a poker face. You're going to have to really put some damage on Khabib to hurt him and get him off you. His willpower, I think, is second to none in the UFC, and a big part of the reason why I think he's going to win this fight against Dustin Poirier. Don Elvergudo is saying, Mi pana, do you advertise business? I'm really interested. Don, of course we advertise business, brother. We've got a bunch of sponsors. Well, not a bunch, but maybe like 5 sponsors. They're all in the links below. So, you know, if you want to find out about them, you click them in the links below. We also sponsor them on our social media where we post every single day. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or follow us on LinkedIn at George Francis. That's where we're at on LinkedIn. But yeah, on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, almost every single social media you could think of, we're Fighters Rep. We post constantly. We post at least once a day. We tag all our sponsors. And the sponsors love it, you know, because we put them out there. They become part of the fight game. They help out the fight game. It's a good advertising write-off for a lot of businesses and a way for them to get more exposure on social media. And so you can always inbox me or message me at Instagram or Facebook or any of these places to Fighters Rep. The message will get to me, and we can talk about that. Or you can just hit me up at George, George, at fightersrep.com. Boxing is saying, I've seen Poirier quit before. I've never seen Khabib quit. He's 28-0 for a reason. Boxing, I cannot disagree with you on that one, my man. Ivan Calderon has joined the chat. I love Fighters Rep with a big old, I think that's a pink heart, fitting of the very loving Ivan Calderon. Ivan is actually our one of our media correspondents. He goes around and does interviews with our fighters. So definitely check out the channel, see what Ivan's doing for us. He's a great kid. He's a talented kid. I'm getting on him about doing more interviews with fighters. We got the most talented people in the world out here in Southern California. Heck, even Khabib trains out here, in California, along with Daniel Cormier and everybody at AKA. So, I'm trying to get Ivan to do more for us. He's becoming a fantastic interviewer, and I appreciate him very much. Logic says, late to chat. How do you think the fight will go? Logic, I gave my prediction in this video. I've got Khabib Nurmagomedov either by decision or by late stoppage via mauling. The typical ground and pound he beats everybody else with. Boxing, we can predict these fights. Remember, everything is already written in the universe. May the best man win. You could be right about that, my man. You could be right. Nobody knows. I don't know what's going to happen, but maybe there's something out there or someone out there that does know it. Marco Martinez, Fighters Rep, loves Ivan Calderon, #1 correspondent. He's okay. Haroon Casimir, forgive me if I didn't pronounce that right, Haroon. Khabib is a monster. He is very strong and focused. This is why I am betting all in. Haroon, don't go all in, brother. Never go all in. Think about the kids. Think about the wife. Think about the college funds. We got to be smart with our money here, my man. Logic says, Khabib fought bears as a kid. If he takes Poirier down, it could be over quick. Absolutely. I mean, how do you compete against a guy who fought bears as a kid? It's just absolute madness. It's why I predicted Khabib to win this fight. It's why I think he's going to win this fight. And it's why I think we're going to have a revolution in the Arab world and in the Middle East after this fight, when people get to see their hero in the region and Khabib Nurmagomedov win this fight. And also all the amazing guys on the undercard like Islam Makhachev and Zubaira Tukhugov and Marbek Taisumov. If I'm being honest, you guys, I'm really excited to watch Zubaira fight, Islam fight, and I am super stupid excited to watch Marbek Taisumov fight. That guy is an animal, okay? And I definitely, if you guys haven't seen Marbek Taisumov fight, I want you guys to tune in and watch that guy fight. That guy is an absolute beast. And, that guy, I don't know, man. I know he failed some drug test or something, who knows, maybe it was a tainted supplement, whatever, but this dude is an animal, just runs through people, and I love watching these guys. So Logic wrote, where does it put Poirier if he beats Khabib in the all-time rankings in MMA? If Poirier can beat Khabib, it's a game changer for him. And I'm not sure where it would put him. It'll definitely put him high. I'm not sure where it'll put him because he's been kind of inconsistent, right? With his losses to Michael Johnson, his losses to Conor McGregor, his win over Max Holloway, and a win over Khabib. Man, that would be an extremely erratic and strange record. Where would it put him? I don't know, but I think if he beats Khabib and continues that trend, he's definitely to be considered one of the best of all time. If he can continue, if he can beat Khabib and continue to beat people. And it not be a fluke. Boxing with another donation. My goodness, brother. And you wrote another super chat for picking Khabib. Boxing, your generosity is ridiculous, my brother. Thank you so much. It's much appreciated, man. I can feel the love from you guys, and I really appreciate it. I work hard, as hell on this promotion. I work hard on this channel. I'm trying to make it better and more legitimate and a place for us to discuss what we love. What we love on a bi-weekly at the very least basis. I do this twice a week at the very least. Not to mention interviews and the live fights, our own live fights that we air. So it means a ton to me when you guys donate. And thank you so much. Thank you so much on behalf of myself, my staff, and all my fighters. Thank you very much. Haroon Casimir saying, I will subscribe. You are a great guy. Thank you so much, Haroon. That's much appreciated, brother. Thank you very much. Everybody, you can always subscribe here. Again, remember, we do this every Thursday at 9 p.m. Pacific. We preview and predict the fights, and then immediately after the fights, or soon thereafter, but typically it's immediately after the fights, we come and do our post-fight reactions, and that's very important. Before I read the next chat, again, I want to remind you guys, check out Fighters Rep 8, September 21st. If you can't make it over here to Southern California to buy yourself a ticket, definitely tune in. They're going to be live and free, the fights right here on YouTube. So definitely check it out. And also, if you want to buy or donate in the Super Chat or buy a Fighters Rep t-shirt, it's much appreciated. There in the links below. Haroon Casimir is saying, Taisumov is my neighbor. That is absolutely hilarious. Logic, who is the biggest threat to Khabib, and how do you think GSP would do if he came out of retirement to fight Khabib? I think the biggest threat to Khabib right now is Tony Ferguson. It's Poirier and Ferguson. These two are the biggest threats to Khabib at this time. I put them on the same level right now because I don't think Ferguson is the Ferguson he was before his injury. I think he needs some time to get back up to that level because he had a serious injury. But I do think Poirier and Ferguson are the biggest threats to Khabib. I think Ferguson might be the biggest because of his jiu-jitsu. It's just on another level, and his striking is great. So he's a problem anywhere it goes, and he doesn't get tired. How do I think GSP would do if he came out of retirement to fight Khabib? That's a tough one, man. That's a tough one. I feel like GSP he's not active enough. I don't think he's active enough to beat Khabib. I think a prime GSP would be a fantastic fight. But I don't think you could be that active and come back and fight a guy like Khabib. I don't think it's a good idea. And so I don't think he would beat Khabib if he came out of retirement. I think he'd have to be active. So that's my opinion on that. Maybe you disagree. Tell me what you think. And what time will this event be going down in the States? I'm not sure exactly what time this UFC 242 event is going down in the States, if that's what you're talking about. If you're talking about our event, the doors open at 5:30. The fights for Fighters Rep 8 start at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. But I'm pretty sure if we just look online, we'll be able to tell what time UFC 242 starts. Boxing. Hey, you should take this YouTube MMA thing serious. You are actually one of the better channels. Thank you so much, brother. I mean, I have been doing my best to not only be a promoter, but to take this thing seriously. We actually have some videos, thanks to you guys, that have reached close to 50,000 views, and it's because of that. It's because we did have videos that reached 50,000, 30,000, 40,000, what have you, that I decided to start taking this very seriously. On top of the fact that I love this. I love doing this. I love talking about the fights. I love getting your ideas and talking with like-minded, cool people about the fights. Once in a while, you get an ignorant idiot. And a lot of these channels out there are full of ignorance. And, they're very they're tribal, they're political. They're talking about race and all kinds of shit that I don't care about as a fight fan. I'm interested in the fights. I'm interested in getting people's opinion. I don't care where you're from. I don't care, what you look like. I just want to talk about the fights and have a good time. And, you could support the guys you like. I'll support the guys I like. We talk about it. We have a good time. And that's it, and I'm trying to build the next generation of strikers. The next generation. I want to build the equivalent of a Glory here in the United States. We don't have one. We don't have anywhere for these strikers to compete. And with your help, guys, and with the help of this channel and the money generated from it, that's what I plan on doing. So thank you guys again. Let's see what else we got here. Dawn Elver saying, I just sent you an email request on your website. Thank you so much, Dawn. I'll definitely check that out as soon as I get a chance. Logic, one of the best unbiased chats on YouTube with top-level insights. Wow, Logic, that means a lot, my man. Thank you so much for that. That really does mean a lot to me. Box Boxing, send me the email to your website. I'll get paid tonight at 12. I'll order a shirt. Box Boxing, thank you so much, my man. Actually, the links are below. If you just look into the description, it says Fighters Rep merchandise. You click it. The shirts are on Teespring. So, you buy whatever size you like, and they email it right to you. You put in your credit card information. They take care of it for me. I don't even have to think about it. You guys go ahead and purchase it right there. Hit the like, fellas. Great channel. Thank you so much, Logic. Much appreciated. Don Elvergudo with some more generosity, man. I feel like a belly dancer. I feel like a stripper up here with all these tips I'm getting tonight. Thank you so much, All right, I'm going to stop dancing. But thank you guys so much for the generosity, Don. Thank you again, my man. I didn't know that you could deposit money from outer space. But I guess, alien currency is just as good as any other currency. Ivan Calderon says, I disagree, even though Ivan Calderon doesn't know anything about combat sports. He says, I disagree. GSP is more well-rounded, better athlete. Okay, he's more well-rounded. I don't know about that. I think GSP's wrestling is fantastic, but I don't think it's on the level of Khabib Nurmagomedov's wrestling. That's my opinion. I think his striking is better, but he kind of went away from it at the end of his career. He's also older and he's inactive. So like I said, in his prime, it's a great fight. 50-50. But at this point, being inactive, coming back, beating middleweight champions when he's bored, he's just not in good enough shape at this point or active enough to beat a guy like Khabib Nurmagomedov. Boxing at 155, GSP will get impregnated by Khabib, just like the other 27 guys he beat. GSP would be too drained. If impregnated is the word you're gonna go with, it's basically the closest thing to what happens to a person when they fight Khabib. They do become basically impregnated. It's very scary. Marco Martinez, GSP would be super weak if he got down to 155. It would be like TJ versus Cejudo. You know what, Marco? That's another thing I agree with, because he went all the way up to, 185 to fight Michael Bisping? Man, him coming back down to 155 with all that diverticulitis or Crohn's or whatever he's got going on in his body. And no, man, it's not a good look, especially this late in his career. We remember what happened to our beloved Roy Jones Jr. from Florida, baby. Our beloved Roy Jones Jr., when he went up to heavyweight to capture the heavyweight title and then drain himself to get back down. We remember what happened there. It was the end of Roy Jones Jr., and that's not something we need to see again. I don't like the weight cutting stuff anyway. I don't like it at all, to be honest with you. At my promotion, I discourage it. I tell people, hey, come in heavy. You don't need to come in light, but not everybody listens to me. But yeah, not a fan of the weight cut, and I agree GSP at 155 would be extremely weak, and it would be like TJ versus Cejudo. Logic is saying, boxing question, Ruiz being champion, do you think he has pull to put a rematch clause if he loses to AJ in Saudi Arabia? I think if he loses to AJ in Saudi Arabia, it benefits both sides to make that rubber match, which is that third match to determine who the man is. So whether he has pull or not, he probably does at this point, holding the 3 belts. But, money talks. Money talks, and you don't need pull with that kind of money on the line. AJ is a massive draw. Ruiz now is a massive draw, being the first heavyweight Mexican champion. And the fact that it's happening in Saudi Arabia, I don't know, it just feels to me like there's a lot of money involved for this fight to be happening in Saudi Arabia. Eddie Hearn, is a very smart, competent promoter, despite what a lot of people say about him. He's very, very smart. I've seen the blueprint that Eddie Hearn's laid out, and he's a very smart guy. And I do think he's in Saudi Arabia because he sees a market there ripe for the picking, right? The Arab market especially is ripe for the picking. A lot of fighters that come out of the Arab world, especially in these kickboxing promotions and stuff. And he sees a market there. And so I don't even think you need pull. I think Eddie Hearn is thinking this fight goes down to Saudi Arabia. My guy's going to win. And then we're going to do the rematch wherever we want to do it for the rubber match. Boxing. I'm a striker myself. Last night I dreamt that I beat the brakes off Canelo Alvarez at 160. My goodness, that was a hell of a dream, brother. And I hope the dream becomes reality. Then at that point, you can, because of my well wishes and positivity towards you, donate one of the many millions you would win in accomplishing that feat. Boxing. Logic. Who do you have as the best MMA fighter of all time in their prime? That is a very tough one, Logic. That's a very tough one. I've always thought Anderson Silva, Fedor Emelianenko, GSP. And I think eventually Khabib is going to be in the conversation. I think Daniel Cormier. And I would say John Jones, but John Jones has that asterisk for me. I think John Jones is a bit of a cheat. Hate me for it if you like. I think, people should fight on an even playing field. And by even playing field, I mean don't have stuff in your system that gives you an advantage or that's illegal. But I do think John Jones, if you sort of ignore the asterisk, is up there too. I mean, he's got to be up there. So to answer your question, I'm not sure who the number one best guy is, but I think all those guys have to be considered. Don Elvergudo, how much is Ruiz getting paid if he beats AJ? I'm not exactly sure. I think a quick Google will resolve that. I'm not exactly sure, but I am sure it's going to be enough money to make him generationally wealthy, and he won't have to ever work again. Hell, he probably doesn't even have to after that last fight. Ruiz looks, this is according to Logic now, Ruiz looks chunkier than his first fight with AJ. Hopefully he didn't fall off or fell to the limelight of being champion. Logic, a lot of people saying he is partying, he's having a good time. Maybe you're right about him being chunkier, but he's starting his training camp now, and it's a long training camp. He's got until December, I think, is when the fight's happening. So that's a long training camp for a boxer to get in hella good shape. And I think you're gonna see a very in shape, very motivated Andy Ruiz, a very dangerous Andy Ruiz. And I actually predicted that fight in the video I made yesterday, so definitely check that out if you haven't already. Boxing is saying that Ruiz is going to be getting $16 million for that fight. That's a lot of money. Man, $16 million. Wow. That's nice money. Logic, Canelo beats both Charlo and Hurd, in my opinion. Your thoughts? I agree that Canelo beats both Charlo and Hurd. And you know what, Logic, if I'm being honest with you, Hurd, didn't Hurd just get beat by that other guy? I can't believe I forgot his name. He did such a fantastic job. And then depending on which Charlo brother you're talking about, Tony Harrison beat him, right? So, I mean, I do think Canelo beats either one of these guys, Charlo's. I think Canelo beats any Charlo and beats Hurd at this point. Who's there to beat Canelo at this point? I don't know. Who do you guys think can beat Canelo? I think Canelo's kind of the man in that weight class. I I think he's the man. Marco Martinez is saying in his prime, Anderson was untouchable. He lost a lot in later years. You know, I agree he was untouchable, but he didn't have wrestling. He didn't have wrestling. Wait, George, you can call out John, but be okay with Silva. He failed a steroid test as well. You're right. You're right. I remember that now, and yes, you caught me, and I'm going to fess up to it. I also have a problem with Silva, but I feel like with Silva, the issue with Silva is Silva came back from that horrific injury, and maybe he was taking steroids to heal up his leg. It's still not an excuse, and I don't know if he cheated that time. Does that mean he cheated in the past? Who knows, man? So yeah, there's an asterisk there too, and you're absolutely right, Marco. Thank you for holding me accountable, brother. I'm not afraid of being wrong. Don Elvergudo with the donation again from outer space. Man, you guys must be doing really well up there in outer space, Don. Muchísimas gracias, mi pana. Lo agradezco mucho. That money is going to be majority invested right back into Fighters Rep Promotions. Thank you guys so much for the donation. Box Boxing, another donation. Box, man, you know, you're a freaking generous guy, man. Thank you so much. I want to be like Andy Ruiz when I grow up. Box, well, I mean, I want to be like Andy Ruiz too, with the money category, but not with the body type category. I'm trying my best not to lose my metabolism. It's already dangling by a string, Box. I hope you're in better shape than I am. Are any of you guys boxers or fighters, or do you guys just love to talk about combat sports? Let me know, but thank you guys so much for your generosity. And, you know, much love and big thanks from all my staff and all the fighters that compete for us. Logic is saying the holdout by Ruiz definitely was a masterful plan. He's getting paid more than he would had he taken the original offer. Yeah, I mean, but I mean, he's also trying to get paid, so it's a good idea to hold out, but not for too long, right? Because he's still, I mean, there's still, nobody is the cash cow that Anthony Joshua is. Nobody, especially in the heavyweight division. Even though he lost his 3 belts, he is still the cash cow in the heavyweight division. So you definitely, if you get a chance to fight Anthony Joshua in the heavyweight division, you take it. Don Elvergudo, you know how we do. Ya tu sabe, mi pana. Thank you, brother. Much appreciated. Boxing, AJ 30 million, Ruiz 16 million, DAZN 20 million, and Eddie Hearn, the bank robber, will get the rest. Hell yes, boxing. I want to be like Eddie Hearn, brother, but less greedy. But less greedy. But look, Eddie Hearn's making everybody rich. He's bringing the fight to Saudi Arabia, my Arab brothers, who've never had a fight this big before. You gotta love it. You gotta love it, man. I mean, he's opening up new markets. He's coming to take over with DAZN here in the United States. I mean, the guy's incredible. The guy's an incredible guy. You gotta give him his props. Logic, what are your thoughts on Colby Covington persona? Is it marketing ploy, or is this who he really is using WWE tactics? I think it's a bit of both. I personally love the shtick. I love any shtick. Anything that's going to sell a fight, I love it. Now, there are levels. I don't like people being hyper offensive. There's a line. There's a line, you know what I mean? And it's one of those things where I can't tell you where the line is until you cross it. But I like what Colby Covington has to say most of the time. I think it's funny. I think he's just being funny with it. Some of the stuff was a little over the top, like what he said about the Brazilians and stuff being filthy animals. I thought that was too much. But, in art, like in comedy, this is a big deal. I don't want to touch too much on this because I don't want to get political on the channel. But, like Dave Chappelle right now is going through some controversy. But I think in art, when you're being a comedic, or you're being funny, or you're being a showman, there shouldn't be any censorship. You should be allowed to say what you want to say. You should be allowed to do what you want to do, to express and bring interest to whatever it is you're doing. But, you also have to remember that people are very impressionable. And, there are consequences to some of the things you say. And that's just something you have to keep in mind, especially when there are children watching. I think, children are impressionable. People that maybe have low self-esteems are impressionable. And you got to be careful with those kind of people, So I'm okay with Colby Covington. I think it's funny. A lot of the stuff he does, he gets under people's skin. He pisses people off. I think it's fun. I don't see anything wrong with it. I love Gamebred's shtick, the whole ghetto dude from Miami, Ghetto Jesus. I love that. I'm from Miami. I love that. I think it's funny. So, I'm one of those lighthearted kind of people that, you can say what you want to say. I'm not going to get offended. I'm not the get offended type. I'm just not. I got a thick skin. It's my problem. But I can understand that, a lot of people are, flowers, sort of, flailing in the wind and sensitive and worried about what somebody's going to say about them. Hell, I make fun of myself. I don't care what anybody has to say. Boxing. I'm a boxer in my own right. I'm 34 years old, so I don't take fights anymore. But in my days, I beat the brakes off them boys growing up in Kingston, Jamaica. That's very cool, boxing. That's very cool. And, a lot of good boxers came out of Jamaica. A couple guys that come to mind are the Axeman and also Glenn Johnson, man. I remember I was a huge fan of Glenn Johnson, who reminds me of Dustin Poirier because he had to fight his way. He had to fight his way up, man. I mean, Glenn Johnson is one of those guys that had losses on his records, but improved from them. And in boxing, I thought that was a rarity, and I admired the hell out of him for that. So much love to him. And, of course, my favorite heavyweight, Dillian White, is of Jamaican descent. So, I got a lot of love for the Jamaicans. Logic, great chat as always. I'm going to bounce. Looking forward to the next one. Hidden Gem Chat on YouTube. Logic, thank you so much. And you know what, guys? I'm going to have to go the way of Logic, which is the way of the dinosaur. I've been on this chat for almost an hour. I got to bounce at this point. But you got my prediction. Don't spend all your money at the sports book. If you do, make sure you at least get some drinks. If you do, you make sure you have at least a little bit of Hennessy or whiskey in my honor. And much love to you guys. Be sure to subscribe below. And we will see you very soon. You guys have a great night. And thank you for joining.